Vincent Welch, Vince's Wood and Wonders. I want to talk to you about honing. We were talking about using some DMT products to hone our tools. It's in line with sharpening, but it creates a very fine finished edge. And for some tools, it's really desired, such as Bedans, skews, even scrapers. Often folks sharpen these and they hone them as well. So let me show you how I go about honing some of these tools. And the tools that I'm going to start with is, or that I'm going to hone, is the Bedan. I've taken it to the grinder, so I know it's very good and sharp. It's got a nice edge on it, but I want to hone this edge. How best to do that? Well, let's first start by talking about the DMT sharpening card. Now they have two cards that I find probably most useful for the wood turners, and that is a 600 mesh as well as a 1200 mesh. The 600 mesh is red in color, the 1200 it's green in color. So again, I've got the DMT, it's red, it's their sharpening card. This is, I guess it's about 2 by maybe 3 1/4 inches long, fairly lightweight. We've got a mesh on one side, a smooth side on the other. Now there's a couple of ways in which people go about honing their tools. I'm going to share with you what it is that I've observed, what it is that I have discovered in the process of working through this. So first is by holding both of these freehand. That when I say freehand, I mean neither one of these are anchored. And you can get the job done. It works. Simply take the tool, take the card, make sure, do yourself a favor, make sure that when you first introduce the card to the tool that you start with the base of the card. It's very easy to get into the habit, and that's ultimately what we're talking about here, is developing habits. But if you take the card and just slap it up against the tool and you start gnawing away at it, well, maybe you get the job done, but maybe what you've done is you round over the edge, not meaning to. It happens very quickly. And when you do that, it's back to the grinder. And that's what we're trying to stay away from. So again, introduce the card from the base first, and then lay the rest of the card. Now you know that it's flat. Once you've done that, it's just a matter of maintaining that flat surface. So it's just a matter of back and forth. Now I'm doing the side of the Bedan to try to demonstrate here just how simple it is. Again, if you'll notice the action, the movement, it's not these long, wild strokes. Again, it comes back to control. With those long, wild strokes, you run the risk of losing that control. With the shorter movements, you maintain that control. And with honing, as simple as it is, sometimes people they fall under the impression that it requires a lot of strength, a lot of pressure, and it doesn't. It's really a matter of just finessing the instrument, the tool, or the card over top of the tool itself. So I've gotten the one side sharp. I'm going to take, again, base first, just 1-2 inches worth of movement. And again, just like when I introduce the tool, when I stop, I'm going to remove the top of the card first and then remove the base. It's habits. Once you form these habits, obviously you don't have to think about it. But here's our third side, again, introducing the base first, just slight movements. Now something else that I want to touch on here that I have come to understand just by working through this process, and that is in regards to running up and over the edge. It's really frustrating if you do that. One of the ways in which you can prevent from doing that is as I'm working this action, generally if you see where my fingers are in regards to the card, they're just about, that is my back finger the little bit of pressure that I'm applying to the card is right here, and it's not a lot of pressure. But that finger is located just below the tip of the edge. In other words, I don't run the risk of running my hand up and sharpening up here, because as I apply a little bit of pressure, the card is going to have a tendency to want to tip forward. And when that happens, that spoils that edge. Game over. So by keeping my finger, or at least keeping the pressure located where my finger is, and not allowing my finger to elevate over the edge that I'm focused on, that I'm concentrating on, boom, we're done. Now, I've hit all three sides, and I initially took the face of it to the grinder, so I knew I had a very sharp, fresh edge right to work with. And I have a honed edge with two very sharp corners that's ready to go. So that's working with the DMT sharpening card. It's very fast, very efficient, works absolutely great, fairly inexpensive. You get these things for $13, $15, depending on where you get them. As far as the Bedans, the skews, and the scrapers, these are essential. In my opinion, you have to have one. Now, with that said, you can also use something like the DMT 6-inch sharpening stone. This is a dual edge stone. It's one of my favorites of all the products that they make. This has a fine edge, which is a 600 mesh, and then an extra fine edge, which is the 1200 mesh, but it's all on this one stone. And again, the action is the same. If you want to do it freehand, you simply introduce the stone up to the surface. I always grab it at the heel, introduce the rest of it. Again, my finger is not any higher. I'm going to call this my support finger. It's not any higher than the edge in which I'm focused on here. That way I know I don't run the edge of running this stone or rounding, spoiling that edge. I'm going to rotate it, catch the backside, heel first. The action is just an inch or two worth of movement. Again, it's finesse, not pressure. Heel. And that's it. If I want to continue, I can simply flip the card over, continue right as I did before, starting with the one edge, one side. Again, the back side. And finally, the third side. And that's it. We've got a sharpened tool here. Yes, that edge is very, very sharp. The corners are even sharper. That's how I go about using the DMT sharpening card and 6-inch sharpening stone freehand to get the job done. Talk to you soon.